Have you ever had that feeling? You walk into a room, you don't say a word, but you can just feel the vibe shift. Or maybe you've noticed that when you're just quietly listening to someone, they start getting a little fidgety, a little more careful. Yeah, if that sounds familiar, you're not imagining it. We're going to get into exactly why highly observant people can make others feel, well, pretty uncomfortable, just by being there.
So to really get this, we have to understand that there are basically two different ways people operate in social situations. You've got the autopilot mind, which, let's be honest, is most of us most of the time. You hear the words, you reply, you focus on the surface level. It's automatic. But then you have the observant mind, and that's a whole different ballgame. It's not just hearing the words, it's catching the tiny hesitation, the shift in tone, the body language that doesn't quite match what's being said. It's like processing the world in multiple layers all at once.
And that leads us to our first big idea, seeing in high definition. You see, for an observant person, this isn't some conscious effort to analyze everybody. It's not like they're trying to be Sherlock Holmes. It's just their default setting. Their brain is automatically vacuuming up all these extra details, the little patterns, the contradictions, the shifts in the energy of a room that most people's brains just filter out.
And the details we're talking about are so small they're almost invisible. It's that tiny half-second pause before someone answers a simple question. It's that flicker of an expression that they think no one saw. It's noticing how a story gets a little tweak when a different person joins the group. Or seeing someone use really confident words, but their body language is screaming insecurity. Once you see these things, you can't unsee them. They all become pieces of a much bigger, more interesting puzzle.
Okay, and this is where we get to the heart of the problem. When you naturally see the world in this kind of high-def detail, your attention, even when you're just quietly observing, can feel like a bright, intense spotlight being shined on other people. And that's exactly where the discomfort begins to creep in.
To really get why this is so unsettling, you have to understand this unwritten rule we all live by. Let's call it social invisibility. It's basically this unspoken agreement that we all have with each other, that our little nervous tics, our minor slip-ups, the small inconsistencies in our stories, they'll pretty much go unnoticed. This is what allows us to feel comfortable, to relax, and not feel like we're constantly being judged under a microscope.
But when an observant person walks in, that cozy, protective blanket of social invisibility suddenly feels paper thin. It's not because they're judging or looking for flaws, it's just that their very presence, their natural way of perceiving the world, automatically picks up on all the stuff that's supposed to stay, well, invisible.
So what happens when someone feels that protective layer disappearing? When they get the sense that their social performance is being seen with a little too much clarity? Well, instinct takes over. The defensive walls go straight up, and this isn't usually a conscious decision. It's a gut reaction to feeling psychologically exposed. And this reaction usually plays out in one of two ways. First, you get defensiveness. Ever had someone suddenly start over-explaining why they did something even though you never asked? That's them trying to grab the steering wheel and take back control of how you see them. The other common reaction is distance. Conversations get shorter, more superficial. People might avoid deep topics because talking to you just feels a little too revealing. It's unpredictable. This whole situation, you can imagine, leaves the observant person completely baffled. They're just sitting there thinking, wait, what did I do? What did I say? It can feel incredibly isolating, like you're somehow doing something wrong without even trying. And the answer, which is both simple and kind of mind-blowing, is nothing. You did nothing at all. The reaction wasn't because of something you said or some look you gave. It was triggered simply by your presence. Your quiet, focused attention was all it took to make them feel seen. And that brings us to another huge piece of this puzzle, the power and the weight of silence. You know, for observant people, being quiet is one of their most misunderstood traits. People see it and they jump to all sorts of conclusions. I mean, there's this massive gap between what people think your silence means and what's actually going on in your head. On the outside, they see shyness, or maybe they think you're detached, uninterested, or even judging them. But on the inside, it's a whirlwind of activity. Your brain is firing on all cylinders, processing all that high-def data, connecting the dots, seeing patterns emerge. You're not uninterested, you're deeply interested. And that silence does something really powerful to a conversation. See, most chats have a rhythm like a game of ping pong, back and forth, back and forth. When you break that rhythm by just listening, you create a kind of vacuum. And what rushes in to fill that space? The other person's own self-consciousness. They start replaying what they just said, wondering if they said too much. Your silence becomes a mirror, and sometimes people get nervous about what they see.
But here's where the story takes a really interesting and kind of wonderful turn. The very same quality, that deep awareness that creates all this discomfort in one situation, can actually transform into a source of incredible respect in another. It's a total paradox.
It's like a journey of perception. So at first, yeah, in casual, low-stakes hangouts, your awareness might create some tension. But then, when things get serious, a real problem needs a solution, a tough call has to be made, suddenly that same awareness isn't a threat anymore. It's an asset. It's a superpower. And over time, as people see the value in what you see, that initial tension slowly but surely turns into real, genuine respect. And you'll know this shift has happened. You'll feel it. It's when people start pulling you aside to ask for your take on a messy situation. It's when they ask you, hey, what's your read on this person's motives? They start to trust that you caught the one critical detail that everyone else missed. Your insights are no longer seen as intimidating. They're seen as perceptive, thoughtful, maybe even a little bit wise.
So, if you are one of those people, and you've always felt that your quiet awareness can change the whole dynamic of a room, I want you to know this: you're not doing anything wrong. And you are absolutely not the only one. It's just the natural side effect of having a mind that sees the world